Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast presented by Omaha Steaks. Get those steak orders in for the holidays, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. Makes it easy. You don't have to worry about anybody's shirt size or anything like that. So, anyway, tonight, me, Josh, I'm with Justin and John, the Flying Jays. We're here. Blake's not with us. He's got family stuff going on as per usual on a Friday night, but we're coming here to do the preview for the Browns versus the Jaguars on Sunday. Finally back in Cleveland Browns Stadium. We need to get off the road desperately. We need to get off the West Coast. We need to get back into our home stadium because we'll talk about it here in a little bit. The stats for the defense specifically between the home and road splits are night and day. I mean, it's a completely different team, completely different defense based on whether or not they're home or away. It's really weird, but it is what it is. So, and this week, we're on the good side of that. Before we dive into everything, make sure you guys like this video on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on audio, we really appreciate you guys. And make sure you follow us on all the socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want more Dogs content, if you want to hang out with us and the whole Dog Pack community on Sunday during the Jaguars game, go to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member, and join the Patreon. We do an after hours episode. Right during the season, we go live in our Discord channel before we do our live show, so it's a lot of fun. We get your input. You guys actually come in and talk to us, and we just have a great conversation and have a lot of fun. So check that out if you're interested. How are you guys doing tonight?
John?
I am well. Thank you for asking. I'm really excited for Sunday because we are going to just stomp the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You
It's
feeling
going to
that?
be really fun.
You feeling that too?
I'm feeling it.
Okay. I
Okay.
like the energy. I'm going to tell you guys, the more this week has kind of gone on, and Justin's going to talk to us about the weather because, of course, he gets to go to the game, and he's always looking at, well, what kind of BS am I going to be sitting through on the lake? And it's going to be awesome for him, once again, like usual this time of year. But I've kind of had that feeling too, guys, that, okay, I was talking to somebody else about this the other day. You know, we just lost two in a row. We just went on the road out west. We lost in Denver. We lost in LA. But we didn't get killed. Now, the scores were lopsided by the end of the game, but it was fourth quarter blowups, self-inflicted wounds, like a late collapse that led to a lot of those late game points. For the most part, the Browns were in both of those games up until close to the end. You guys agree?
I agree with that. I
Oh,
felt like
100%.
we're very much in both games and just crucial late mistakes, like you said, just execution. I mean, it is what it is. I felt like 2 games in a row, the defense kind of hasn't shown up completely, not to talk bad about our defense, but
Well, no, I'm glad you brought it up. I mentioned it when we opened. Might as well just dive into these numbers now. So I was pulling these home road splits today, and because I wanted to post some stuff online about it because it's very telling. So when the Browns play at home, we average, what is it? I'll just do the quick math, 155.8 yards per game fewer than on the road. So when we're on the road, teams are getting over 150 more yards a game against our defense. I mean, the point totals are crazy. We give up, we've given up 19 road touchdowns versus only 7 at home. We get 23 sacks on the season at home, just 11 on the road, and it's an even split. We've had 6 home and 6 away, so it's not like it's lopsided. It's an even split, and the numbers are just atrocious on the road. And they're like top of the league at home.
what do you think's a factor in that? Do you think, because I know going up there,
I think it's you, buddy. I think it's you.
It's not just me.
It's you. It's the
as
fans.
much as I want to. I do think that the energy in that stadium has been awesome, especially this year. I don't know if it's just we're feeling momentum. The defense has been, every game that I went to for the most part, minus the Baltimore game for the most part, has been outstanding. Like, that is, even if the offense isn't there, even if the offense is very vanilla, the defense, when they get out there, people are excited and they're ready to see something happen. And it doesn't take long. I mean, it's not like you're waiting around all game for one play. It's every play there's something happening, you're impressed with somebody that, executes perfectly. So it is fun up there. And it gets loud. It's by far one of the loudest atmospheres that, as far as in recent years that I can remember. That place has been rocking for weeks. Actually, the whole season it's been outstanding. So maybe that is part of it. I don't know.
Andrew Jackson, our boys in the chat, he says Justin's energy is the winning formula. I mean, you represent the fans at the game. I mean, let's just be real on the show, at least, because you got the season tickets. So, that energy is important. And we don't, if say some things start to go bad, on Sunday, and, a couple plays, a couple drives just aren't really looking good. We don't need to be like the Steelers fans last night, booing the team and acting like idiots out there. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That was different watching that last night. Of course, as a Browns fan, I couldn't have gotten more of it. I loved it, every second of it.
That'll get you into an argument with my mom at the game. I mean, John can attest to this. If you are sitting around us and you slander a Browns player or the team or anything, even if they were right, shots fired. Shots fired. It is. I would say, I'd like to say that even though like on this show we've said maybe Browns fans can be kind of awful sometimes, at least some of the fan base, you know what I mean? Yeah. I do think that we're an extremely loyal fan base to still, as an entire city for the sports. It hasn't been easy, you know what I mean? It's been rough, and all three major sports franchises, there's been moments, and for most of my adult life, it's been extremely tough. So for fans to still stick around and still be that loyal and still be that diehard into this team, even though over the years, some of the decisions with personnel and just plays and things that have happened, and you're still on board, it says a lot. It says a lot about the group, the fan base in general. So,
yeah.
John, what do you think, man?
About the fans? Are we talking about the fans still?
Just the whole. What do you think? Sunday, the fans, the game, the team, the defense, the Jags, whatever, man.
Yeah, I think we're going to beat them really badly. I think it's going to be an embarrassing loss. I think the Jags fans are going to turn on their team, and they're all going to be like, "Oh no, what are we going to do?"
Yeah. Well, let's go to Trevor Lawrence, because I think we need to mention, for people who obviously there are a lot of fans that probably watch or listen to this show that, they watch the Browns games, maybe they follow the Browns, but they don't pay too much attention to the other teams in the league, which that's totally cool. So the Jaguars just played on Monday night against the Bengals, and they lost, which was great because, that moves them down in the AFC standings. And not that we're ever advocating for injury, but Trevor Lawrence did go out with a high ankle sprain in that game. And if you follow like sports docs and things like that, high ankle sprains are typically a 3 to 6 week injury. Some players can come right back and play the following week after having the injury. But if they do, they're severely limited. So Trevor Lawrence at this point in time, he has practiced in limited fashion this week. He has been, talking about how he's rehabbing hard. He wants to play. He's going to play. The Jaguars are going into the weekend with Trevor Lawrence as a game time decision.
Game time. Yeah.
So what decision. Is that? 90 minutes before the game, they got to make the decision. Sir. Now, I'll get your guys' opinion. I'll just say real quick, my expectation 100% is Trevor Lawrence is going to start that game. I think he at least gives it a go. Now, does he finish the game? I'm not going to talk about that because anything can happen during an NFL game, but I do believe he starts. What do you guys think?
We have talked about how well the defense plays on the road, at home as opposed to the road. And man, if Trevor Lawrence does start, he's going to be under pressure, I think. This is all going to depend on did Miles' shoulder really hold him back that badly, or did he just have a bad game? So if Miles comes back and is the defensive player of the year front runner Miles that we've seen, he's not finishing the game. Trevor Lawrence is not finishing the game. But I do think it's contingent on that, though.
So when I saw the schedule, every year I take a look at the teams that we're going to play, and there's guys that I circle that I'm excited to see play. Mm-hmm. And so this year, when I'm looking at the schedule, this was one of those games where I was like, I really, that's one thing. There's guys that you go and you watch and you're like, it's one thing to watch them on TV and they make those throws and plays and you're like, wow, that was impressive. When they do it live, it really is like crazy to see guys perform at that level. Trevor Lawrence is one of those guys. He from his college career all the way to this point. Obviously, his rookie year was a little rough, but he has ascended. He is a franchise player, and he has turned that franchise around with the help of some other guys. But when I saw the injury on Monday night, I was like, man, we just got a huge break because it changed. I felt like it changed the whole dynamic of what we were going to have to face going into Cleveland on Sunday. And I honestly, I thought at the time, I was like, man, that looked, maybe it was like a season-ending injury. You know, I didn't know if it was an ankle injury, if maybe when his leg got bent back, if something was torn in his knee. Now, obviously, I'm one of those people. I want to see all the best players out there. You know, I want to be entertained. I want to see those guys. Me personally, and so we just checked the weather right before we got on. It changes like every 37 seconds around Cleveland Browns Stadium. Right now, there's a gap where it'll stop raining around 6 a.m. and then it's holding up probably till about 5 p.m. But like I told these guys, every time that I followed that forecast, it piss rains the entire game. So I honestly, depending on how healthy he is, do you really want to send your franchise guy out there when they're in a great position to, whether it's a high playoff seed or even to make a run? I mean, the AFC is not as dominant as it's been in years past. Are we really thinking that they're going to send him out there on a bad leg and potentially maybe throw the season away? I don't know.
It's a gamble,
to me,
man.
It's a huge gamble. I thought honestly that they would rest him for a week and then bring him back healthy as you can for Baltimore, because they got Baltimore coming up too. You got back-to-back kind of gauntlet games against what we would think are very good defenses, especially Cleveland at home defense. I'm thinking they're pinning their ears back, you know, especially if they think that he's hobbled and he's not 100%. So going into it, all week I thought, man, I don't know if he's going to go. And I keep seeing those reports that, you know, hey, he's a game time decision and he really wants to get out there. I don't know. I think that if it's CJ Beathard, our chances of winning this game go up dramatically.
I agree.
I think it completely different game plan for the defense. You know what I mean? He's not as dynamic. And you've seen backup guys come in and, you know, people don't know as much about him because they don't have the tape on him. You've planned for a certain guy all week. But I think that dramatically increases our chances of being dominant in this game.
Yeah, but at the same time, I also think that a high ankle sprain, severely limited Trevor Lawrence, excuse me, could be really good for the Browns defense as well. Because one thing about Trevor Lawrence, and we've seen this, you've talked about it, I believe, right, Justin, about these other quarterbacks with the mobility and how they tend to get their way with the Browns defense a little bit. You know, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, some of these guys. And Trevor Lawrence, while that's not like his calling card, the dude can move. The dude can get out and run. Yeah. He had a knee injury earlier in the season. I forget which week it was. And he came back the next week with like a brace, and they didn't know if he was going to play that game, and probably a game time thing too. And he came out and played, and he had like his highest rushing output of the season
for a Thursday night game.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a Thursday night game that he came back for.
And it was like, what is it? What are they doing? Why is he running so much? But you know, these athletes are going to athlete. That's just what they do. And if he's limited though, and he tries to push it, I'm just saying, it could be a situation where he can't move the way he thinks he can move, and that leaves him as a sitting duck in that backfield for guys to get after him.
Look at what just happened to Kenny Pickett. He came into that game very, very banged up, and he's out. I mean, they're not saying it's season ending. They're saying it's 2 to 4 weeks, but he just had ankle surgery. So that's kind of what my point is with the whole injury thing with him. Is it worth the risk? I mean, it's not like, obviously Houston's coming. Houston's right on their tail in that division.
How about Indianapolis?
And Indianapolis also, yeah.
They got a tough
tie
division,
at 7-5, and then there's Jacksonville's 8-4 now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's literally a game. But I mean, they're a nice team. They've been a nice team for a while, and they were on a hot streak. I mean, going at this point to be 8-3 in the season, you're one of the elite teams, you know, based on your record in the division. So I don't know. I know I'm seeing a lot of people saying they think he'll also go. I'd just be very, very surprised.
Well, and we'll find out Sunday morning which way they go. But I do think
Yep.
that either way, I think that the advantage is to the Browns. Obviously, Vegas thinks so because I wanted to mention this. We opened the week as 3-point underdogs. Jacksonville was favored by 3, and that was Monday before the game that night. Trevor Lawrence got hurt, and now Cleveland's actually favored by 3. The
Right,
line has
which is-
completely flipped. So we do have a big advantage. And the thing with this Jaguars game is, and I know Blake left us a message, and if one of you guys wants to read his thoughts, that'd be cool. But I know one thing he said was, let's not lose our minds. If we lose this game, it's not a must win, but it's a big win if we can get it. And I feel like it's just sitting there for the taking. Like if we play the way this defense plays at home normally this season, and if we can just, I said I wasn't going to say this anymore, but I guess I will. If we could just not turn the freaking ball over on offense, I think we win the game. I think it's easy. I do. I think pressure on Lawrence, don't turn the ball over, and I think you can win this game.
Look what Jake Browning just did. And I don't want to like tarnish Jake Browning's name or legacy or anything like that, but he had looked very, very below pedestrian as a quarterback going into that game.
That's true.
I turned that game on going, man, this might not be a good game to watch. This is going to be a really rough start of football. We're going to have this game, and then we're going to have New England and Pittsburgh on Thursday. Like, it's going to be a while before we see a good game. That was a fantastic game.
One of the best ones.
That? One of the best games I've watched all season. That was a fantastic, fun game to watch. So, and just a lot of dynamic going on. We're chatting with the guys and, Discord and stuff like that. And, we're going Jacksonville. We're like, who's their third quarterback? They don't even have one, Beathard, it looked like he got hurt. And we're going, man, this is crazy. This is a wild game. But, should be, regardless, I am very optimistic heading into this game about Cleveland chances. This was a game that I didn't just, if I looked at it on paper, I went, this is probably one we're not going to get. You know what I mean? This is a tough team. Obviously, they got to come to Cleveland. They're coming on short week off of a Monday night game. But I just figured, that's probably not one of those 3 that we kind of thought we'd have to get to 10, right? If we really want to take ourselves seriously as getting into the playoffs. But this, all of a sudden, it looks like this has a lot of potential.
So the last thing I'll mention real quick about the Jaguars and why we have another advantage on our side, and then we'll dive into probably the biggest topic for the Browns. But first, for the Jags, they lost their leading wide receiver, Christian Kirk, in that Monday night game this past week. And I think that's a big deal because we were talking before the show, like if you follow fantasy at all, you know that there has been a correlation the entire season between Calvin Ridley's good performances and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones both being on the field with him at the same time. When one of those guys isn't there, Calvin Ridley is almost a non-factor. And in this kind of weather game with a hobbled Lawrence, with hopefully Denzel Ward back, I think that Calvin Ridley might not do anything. And not having Christian Kirk out there kind of levels the playing field because we might not have Amari Cooper. So, and again, not advocating for injuries, not excited that guys got injured, but it does give us an advantage that they're going to be without him.
I agree. A kid that kind of you can watch out for, and he kind of came in and got an opportunity is Parker Washington. He stepped in for Christian Kirk, and he looked pretty damn good.
Yes, he did.
They've got weapons at receiver, and then another guy to keep an eye out on is Travis Etienne. Very legit running back. Kind of banged up, has had a rib injury designation for a couple weeks now. He carried it into that Monday night game, came out of it, practiced all week. So, I mean, I know a lot of guys are saying, hey, what's going on with Etienne? Is he going to play? I would be shocked if he didn't play. I feel like he will play. I didn't hear anything bad that came out like he further injured himself as far as rib injury.
Yeah.
So I would say that to me, he's the guy that you have to stop. Like, you stop him. I'm not worried about Ridley on Denzel. I'm not worried about, Zay Jones is nice, but I feel like Zay Jones maybe against Emerson. I like that matchup. And then if you have Newsome on Parker Washington, I like how we're matched up in the secondary. So my thing is we're getting healthy at the right time on defense. We're finally getting guys back. I think that we've already kind of talked about it, but this is kind of a nice, maybe get right game. And then if you're facing a backup quarterback as well, my goodness,
Mm.
like perfect storm, but maybe without the rain and tornado stuff going on in Cleveland, just with stuff. So
Yep. So before we shift over to the Brown side of things, I just want to shout out the chat. Love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you
yes,
for being with us on a Friday night. Keep the comments coming. You guys have your conversations with us. We're picking stuff out as we go. It's always fun to see you guys. So moving into the Brown side of things, who's playing quarterback? Because DTR has cleared concussion protocol. Obviously, Joe Flacco's been practicing all week. The whole reverting back to the practice squad thing was so stupid earlier in the week. People freaking out. Like, guys, it's just roster management. Not a
yep,
big deal. He's,
yep.
in my opinion, if I was a betting guy, I would say Joe Flacco starting this game. I don't really see a reason why you wouldn't go that route. But what do you guys think about the starting quarterback for the Browns this week?
I'm with you on that. I want it to be Flacco. The biggest thing going against Flacco is his interception was at the worst possible time, and our whole team just kind of seemed to fall apart at the end of that game. And so it doesn't really look great. But if you look before that, he managed that game like a veteran pro,
Yeah.
with he's got the playoff experience and the Super Bowl, and that's what he looked like. He looked like a super experienced guy that was just totally comfortable. So I want Flacco. I don't know what Kevin will do. I don't want to predict that, but I want Flacco though.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, anybody who's followed, Fatal Gnome says, Super Chat, put my money on Flacco. Yep, I agree with you, man. We'll get Justin's thought in a second. But I put this stat out on Twitter the other day. The Browns have faced, so we've been talking about the stack boxes, why we're not running the ball as much, why we've been people, why would you throw 44 times with a veteran quarterback that you just signed, blah, blah, blah. Well, the opposing defenses the Browns have faced, and since Deshaun Watson's shoulder injury, have increased the rate at which they stack the box against the Browns by an average of 63.5%. So it was like 20. I forget what the number was. It's like down in the 20% of the time we were facing a stacked box before Watson's injury. Since then, it's all the way up in like 44 something. I mean, it's huge what's happened. So that's why the Browns. I mean, our run game is pitiful right now. It really is. I mean, you take out a big run by usually Jerome Ford here and there, and his average is measly, like 2 or less. Actually, the other day, it was either last week or the week before, it was like 1.2 a carry.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Justin? You want to see Flacco or do you want to see DTR?
So all I think that's going on right now is this is just coach doing coach things. He is basically making you plan for two quarterbacks. They're two completely different quarterbacks.
Yes.
So basically, I would be very, very surprised if Flacco was not the starter on Sunday. I think momentum is kind of pushing that way. I'm not gonna lie, he was throwing some balls into some tight windows. Like,
yeah,
there was some throws where I was like, yikes, man, that makes me nervous, but it just slinging them in there. And so I liked what I saw. I wasn't upset about it. Obviously the interception, it, like John said, couldn't have come at a worse time. And I agree with you. I feel like that with the missed extra point, it kind of was just a momentum breaker. It just kind of just killed the energy on the sideline.
yeah.
But I will say this, and I've got some buddies that I watched the game with on Sunday, and they just said, man, we have no threat with the running quarterback with Flacco, and it's non-existent. Don't be surprised if they bring DTR in some type of packages where, and I'm not saying he'll just come in to run, because obviously if they see him come in, they're like, oh, key up, hey, he's going to run the ball. I just think that, and not coach out thinking everybody, outsmarting everybody, but don't be surprised if you see DTR come in on some packages and throw the ball. They're going to expect him to just come in and maybe run, or I wouldn't be surprised if he came in. I don't really necessarily like that, because I feel like you kind of get your other guys out of rhythm as far as your other quarterback. But if you can keep the defense, honest, and then they don't just full out expect always a pass, or they, stack the box like we've said. But I wouldn't be surprised if he had some packages and he did get, a little bit of run. I'm not saying a lot. I'm talking 4 or 5 plays, just something different, just a different look.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Zen Menza here. Thank you for the super chat. Says Joe Cool Flacco with DTR and a couple of package plays. That's exactly what we're talking about. And when you say, it kind of gets the quarterback out of rhythm, I don't know if that's necessarily true when it's planned. Like it's designed and planned, because you see the Saints do it all the time. They pull Derek Carr out, and here comes Taysom Hill. And the thing with that package is when Taysom Hill comes in, there's like a 90% chance he's running the ball and maybe a 10% chance he's going to actually try to throw it. Right. With DTR, I feel like you're 50-50.
Yeah, you don't know.
And even if you roll him out to sweep, he can still step back and maybe throw the ball. So, because he is a legit quarterback, where Taysom Hill's just he's a really good gadget player. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I agree.
With the honed skills at quarterback, his arm strength and everything, I think DTR. What are you going to do? I think this will be where some fans will say, "Oh, Kevin's getting cute," but you got to understand if they're, especially if they come out early, like the first or second drive, and they show a look with DTR and they run the ball. They're setting up a pass later in the game, and the Jags know that, but they don't know when it's coming. You know what I mean? Because the next time they put him in, it's like, well, last time they ran it, well, we run it again. You know what I mean? I think it's a really good advantage. It'd be a smart thing to do.
Agreed. I think it's interesting also. We kind of went into this week thinking that we probably weren't going to have Amari. At the press conference today, they said they're not ruling anybody out. So Amari may go. Honestly, I think you saw something in the last game that there's some chemistry there between Joe Flacco and Elijah Moore. There's
From
something
the Jets
there.
Days, yeah.
Yeah, there's something there between those two. And he looked for him often. So I'm curious. Obviously, if you have Amari out there, it's a whole different. You have a legit wide receiver one that can get open and have no problem, handling business. But I'm just hoping that we come in as healthy as possible. I don't really know what's going on with DeJuan Jones right now. It says, he missed practice and it's unknown.
Tweaked his knee.
Was that what it was?
Tweaked a knee. Yep. So he's a game time decision.
That's tough. That's. I mean, how many more injuries can we have?
Well, if we've
what's going on and what's going on with Wills? How many more games does he have? Is it one more and then he's back, or?
Well, I think he's got one more and then he's eligible to come back if he's ready, if he's healthy. But you're talking Jerron Christian again at left tackle. You're talking if DeJuan Jones can't go, then you're talking James Hudson. And one guy we did not mention for the Jags that I think we probably should, is not the quarterback but the defensive end, Josh Allen.
Yeah, legit game breaker. He doesn't get as much shine as like some of the other elite defensive players in the league, right? He's not like a Watt or a Bosa. This guy, if you watch him, he's very disruptive. He's everywhere. If that play that Cincinnati ran where Tyler,
you want to talk about a coach getting cute? If Kevin had called that and it happened, this fan base would have melted down to nothing. You know what I mean?
No. But
if you didn't see the play,
Tyler Boyd takes basically like a ladder, like a
sweep, jet sweep or something, right?
And then decides he's going to go quarterback style and throws it back across the middle of the field right to Josh Allen. And so not only has he got great hands because he intercepted the ball, if you watch that game, he was in the backfield a lot. He was very disruptive, and Browning had a nice game, but he's very, very good. And if we're weak at tackle and they're smart and they move him around a little bit, he could wreck some things that we were trying to do on offense for sure.
Yeah, he concerns me on their defense. We were kind of talking before the show. Outside of him, they're okay. Obviously, they're 8-4 on the season, so they got a good defense. But he's the key guy that I think we need to shut down. I do not feel like they've got the defense like the Browns do, where if Miles isn't making an impact, I mean, we still got Smith, we still got Obo, we still got Tomlinson, and Elliott and Hurst and these other guys. So Fatal Gnome threw in a follow up here. He says if Flacco starts and we not only win but we win big, does he start the rest of the season?
Health willing. Like if he doesn't, the thing with Flacco, this is the only concern that I have, is that he can't hold up for the rest of the season. That's my only concern. Whether it's like
5 games.
I know. That's what. Well, maybe some playoff games. Come on now.
Well,
Hold
okay,
on
I'm
now.
sorry. Rest of the regular season. Regular
I don't
season.
want to jump ahead of things. Get ahead of myself or anything. But I guess that's my only concern. You've seen him in spurts over the last few years. You've never seen him go out there and play 7, 8 games. It's always 2, 3, a benching, and then sit on the couch for a little bit. But that first game, that performance, that if we could get that, you leave that interception out and you cleaned up some of the little mistakes and stuff like that. That looks like a recipe with an elite defense that shows up every week and there's pressure up front. My biggest thing is, man, our front has been kind of struggling. I feel like they just didn't get home against two kind of. I mean, Russell Wilson's, he's nice, but would you think that Russell Wilson would be like a guy that we'd be worried about? And then obviously Stafford, I figured he was going to be very statuesque back there. And I don't even know if we didn't get a sack, but what was there, 2 QB hits and that was it the entire game?
Pressure was very, very low, very weak.
Pressure was not there.
There wasn't any. It was, and for a defense that, that's what they pride themselves on. We've talked about it so many times, all of us. If you can't get home, it doesn't matter how good your cornerbacks and your secondary is. Eventually, elite wide receivers and weapons get open. You only have so much time to shut them down. So I think we have to get pressure up front. If we don't, I think you're going to see another similar game that you saw the last couple of weeks where we can't get off the field.
Yeah. So I see a lot of people in the chat talking about Ward. You mentioned Dawand Jones. I'll kind of go through the injury report here real quick before we kind of wrap everything up tonight. But John, was there anything else that you wanted to kind of chip in about this game or anything that we've talked about so far?
Well, just to address the question of if Flacco should be the starter for the rest of the season, I would say yes this year because of the playoff experience. The playoffs are very much alive for us right now.
Yeah.
I would still pick us to get a wild card spot.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I think winning the division it would take a miracle. I think that ship kind of sailed, but we're the 5 seed right now. And we got some winnable games ahead of us. I think this one coming up is one of them. Flacco was the perennial playoff starting quarterback for a while. Yeah. And if we make the playoffs, I'd rather not have DTR. And it's not a knock on DTR.
No.
Flacco has been there. He understands the pressure. He understands the playoff atmosphere on a road playoff game. DTR's not seen anything like that. But Flacco's seen it many times. And that's the biggest reason I would want to start Flacco moving forward is because of the playoffs.
I think that's a really good point, man. I glanced over at the chat. Preston Herring, he says, if this D-line doesn't get to that one-legged Jesus-looking frat bro at least 3 to 4 times, I will break my TV.
Me too. And I'm not even going to have a TV.
Man.
I'll find a TV to break and get arrested. I'll spend the night in Cleveland down at the municipal station. Not good. Get that bail money together, guys. Get it together.
Oh, man. Okay, so real quick, they're really honestly the good thing about the injury report this week, other than, of course, our guys on IR who are just out. It's not bad. It's actually not as bad as we thought it probably could have been heading into this game. So starting at the top, Amari Cooper going into the weekend is questionable officially. He did not practice Wednesday, Thursday, but he did practice today in a limited fashion. Like Justin said, it's a good sign for him, at least suiting up. I don't know. I don't have an update on here whether like he's in concussion protocol or if he's just dealing with the ribs concussion. That's all that's listed. So as long as he gets out of the protocol, if he's in it, then he gets out tomorrow.
Right.
Then he's playing. He's going to play, I think.
I agree. And that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It is. It's definitely huge. So the only other ones that are questionable, obviously we talked about Dawand Jones, tweaked the knee the other day in practice, has not practiced, did not practice today either. But then you've got Cam Mitchell coming off of IR with the hamstring, limited practices this week, but practiced in full today. Questionable for the weekend, but I think he's going to play. And same with Denzel Ward, limited Wednesday, Thursday, well, and limited today, questionable heading into the weekend with the shoulder. But I think he's going to play too. What do you guys think about Denzel?
I heard good things so far. I heard he's back more or less. So wow, that would be a difference, man. He's a veteran now at this point. He is the leader of the secondary. And we've talked a lot about our secondary because we got some studs, but I think Denzel Ward's the man. I mean, he's a dog.
He definitely is. I mean, we talked about the secondary on Monday's show after the game. Newsome and Emerson actually had pretty good day. They each had a good game against the Rams. A lot of the yardage, the chunk plays, the big passing yardage that the Rams were getting came against mismatches with our linebackers. So, we need to get that sorted out, and I think having Denzel Ward back in the game helps out a lot.
I'm excited to see some Cameron Mitchell back on the field too. Because as much as it's been tough the last few weeks, and we've had to lean on some other guys, Mike Ford's been struggling. Mike Ford has been that's been tough, and not to knock a guy. I know
he's a special team ace for a reason.
Yeah, that's very tough to come in and then play meaningful minutes, like starting minutes, basically. So I'm excited I like Cameron Mitchell a lot. I think about that play where I think it was Seattle where he pretty much could have just walked the ball in for pick six. It just kind of went off his hands. He's got a nose for the ball. He's nice player, in limited opportunities. So I'm glad to get him back. If we can just get healthy, I think that's the biggest thing right now. Like, I don't know how many more injuries this team can sustain, and then we can still expect a good product out there. You know what I mean? At some point, you have to break and not bend. And for some reason, this team is very resilient, just keeps fighting. But it's crazy how many injuries this team has dealt with. It's very crazy. It's nuts.
That's hat tip to Kevin Stefanski for having this team bought into the mission and what they're trying to do. We've been talking about it all season long. There's a lot of Browns, I'll just call it Browns Twitter, that I don't know how Browns fanny they really are, because they really do seem to sincerely expect this team to operate as if everybody's healthy. And I keep trying to remind people, this is not a Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, fully healthy offensive line type of offense we're running right now. It is, please God, get something to go here. And that's really what we've been dealing. Yeah.
We're so far past that. We're so far past that it's if you would have told me this is where this team is with all those losses, I'd have said you're crazy. There's no way, as a Cleveland fan, there's no way that that's possible. Yeah. Go ahead, John. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just going to, just one more thing. We kind of talked about it, but I was texting Blake during the game last week about the secondary, and without Ward, our corners kind of looked like they were getting burned. But one of the things we kind of agreed on this too, that's what happens when you get no pressure at all.
Yeah.
Our line needs to get to the quarterback. I mean, I saw, and I don't know if it's the packages we were running or if they just came with a game plan to stop us. I really don't know. But we got no pressure. It was really hard to watch. Like, no pressure at all. And of course your corners are going to get burned against pro NFL wide receivers. They're going to get separation eventually if they have that much time.
Especially when the league's built for that.
Let's get to the quarterback, please.
Yes, we're begging for that because, again, whether it's a hobble Trevor Lawrence on one ankle or it's CJ Beathard, we got to get after them. We got to make them look like Joe Burrow looked in week 1. That was a wet, rainy, kind of crappy game too, and he didn't even, he wasn't even close to 100 yards passing, right? Wasn't it like 80-something?
Yeah, that was like 86.
I mean, we can do this to good quarterbacks. And the thing with Trevor Lawrence, he's in year 3. He's not really ascended the way that I think a lot of people thought or projected him. Yeah, expected him to this year. But he's still a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
But I do think that he's susceptible. We can definitely shut him down if we get the pressure, like John said. I think that's a perfect point. And one last thing too, I did want to mention, shout out Andrew Berry. I mean, we're sitting here talking about how badly this team needs Cam Mitchell, a 6th-round rookie this year, and DeJuan Jones, what, 4th or 5th round rookie this year. Like,
Fourth, yeah.
you think about Andrew Berry, and people online want to bitch and complain all the time. All those 1st-round picks for Deshaun. Browns are doing just fine without him. Just fine without him.
Yeah.
I wish we had him. I wish he wasn't hurt.
Oh, dude, if we had Deshaun Watson, I mean, I think we would be firmly in the driver's seat right now for playoffs.
You know, when you have a game manager like Flacco in there, this is the I've been bummed out since the moment it happened that we lost Nick Chubb. I am low-key, I'm a little depressed about this.
Yeah,
Like,
no kidding. Buddy.
By far, favorite I mean, nothing against the other guys. Nick Chubb is my favorite Brown.
I think most people would say that. Yeah.
And he's just such a dog. His work ethic is second to none. And he was a talent like nothing we had seen since before I was born. I'm not gonna, name names. I think Nick Chubb's one of the best running backs we've ever had, though. And he would be making a huge, huge difference for us. Think about the way the defenses would have to prepare for the Browns if we had Nick Chubb right now.
Yeah.
But, it's really exciting to think that he, is progressing so well and we might get him back next year. I hate to say anything about next year. That's just too much of a Browns thing to do. And we're still in it this year. So I'm optimistic for this year too, but I want that guy back.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying the future's bright. I mean, it doesn't take away from what's going on right now. What's going on right now is something that, I mean, if you're a Browns fan that's willing to sit back and enjoy this ride, you'll never forget this season.
Exactly. And we got not only a bright future, but after next season, we're getting all our 1st-round picks back.
Right. And then all the guys that Andrew Berry's already drafted this year, last year, the year before, they're just going to continue to grow. I mean, and you look at the free agents that Andrew Berry's able to bring into this team, the future's bright, but also the future of this season is bright. Everything's looking good. I know it's been down because we've lost the last 2 games. The games ended ugly, both of them. But like I said to start the show, Browns were in both of those games. As ugly as it was the whole way through, we were essentially tied up until we made a crucial mistake on offense toward the end of each of those games, and it just collapsed the whole thing. We can avoid that this week. I think we get the win against Jacksonville.
Absolutely. It's very possible.
All right. Well, appreciate everybody joining us on Friday night again as we preview this game coming up on Sunday. It's okay. It's okay to be excited about the Browns still. It really is. Don't fans scared. This team has shown all season that against all odds, they can find a way to win. It doesn't happen every single week, but it's the NFL, especially with what we're dealing with. I think we got to a point where we were expecting this team to pull it out one way or another every week. That's not realistic, but we are still 7-5. Everything's on the table right now.
100%.
Absolutely. Hey, Browns fans, if you're interested, come stand in the rain with me on Sunday. Let's get crazy. Let's get wild up there. Let's make that stadium a little rowdy.
Yeah,
I'll be sitting in the away section.
Yeah,
over in Fight City. So
hit us up on the socials if you guys want to, link up with Justin at the game if you're going to be there and say hi. We love seeing you guys when we're out and about and stuff. Like
Absolutely.
if you ever see us, not that we're recognizable people, but I mean seriously, if you see us and we had that
one of us is recognizable, but he's not here tonight.
He's not here tonight. That's right. But remember, we were at training camp 2 years ago, and a couple people behind us were like, not sure if they wanted to say anything, and finally their mom said, "Hey, are you guys a podcast?" And we're like, "Yes." So it's cool. We love talking to you guys. It's always fun to hear from you and see you in person.
If you want to be recognized, hang out with Blake more. There's just something about it.
Blake gets shouted out in like department stores and stuff.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. If you want to hang out with the #1 Cleveland Browns fan, come up to Cleveland and meet my mom on Sunday. She'll be there. Just don't say anything
negative
bad about Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah.
And don't take her parking space, guys. Don't do it.
All right. Well, everybody in the chat, we love you guys. Appreciate you. Again, like this video, subscribe on YouTube here. It really helps out the show. Head to jointhedawgs.com if you want to do the 7-day free trial and jump into Discord this weekend with us. Hang out. It's a lot of fun. You talk to anybody in there. We have all kinds of personalities. I admit I'm a ledge sitter. From the beginning of the game, I'm like, oh, we're doomed. Everything's going to, we screwed this up, screwed that up, penalties. Yeah, but by the end of the game, I'm still there, ready to go. So it's all fun and games, but we love you guys. Enjoy your weekend. And until we talk to you, hopefully on another Victory Monday, let's go Browns.